For those who don't know, Feinberg is hosting a Pandora's Box event with the strongest event teams ever made. The idea is that there are 8 captains, myself included, and they all get to draft players for their team, no limits to the strength. This is the team I went with. I wanted to explain why I went down this path for my build and offer some personal thoughts and feelings that I would enjoy talking about, and I'm sure the eager event nerd minds would be willing to digest it. To start with, I wanted to look at what the most important part of PB is. The overall trend. From what I've seen, experience is invaluable. This comes from most events, and PB is no different. The average comp is also naturally higher, which means new players are generally fighting a harder battle to get a higher individual placement. This means that previous experience in playing the event is just extremely important. If you want to place well in a Minecraft event, you need to know the groove of the event. Like, for example, in my first PB, I think I got 10th individual. This was because I just kind of bottled a lot of the individual games and didn't really know what was going on, because I hadn't played them. The moment I started playing them, I started placing way higher. Out of the games in the game roster, quite a few of these are definitely very individual / experience based. Hyperdrive's a great example. There's 4 maps, and no matter how hard you VOD review these maps, it's gonna feel impossible to keep up if you haven't actually played them. For Pandora's Box 8, I remember vividly VOD reviewing for several hours all of the maps, and even after several hours of VOD review, I got like 9th, and that's not even with an insanely high comp event. Cut to 3 events later, and I'm placing first in the game. Pretty effortlessly. There's a lot of variables that you can't really control or practice outside of just being in the game itself, like the boosts. And the other games, I won't mention anything about them, but just by looking at the games here, I think you can tell how in-game experience is super valuable here. Secondly, I wanted to reach a threshold. There are mainly 2 games this matters for, so I'll be quick with this one. If your team is not good enough at PvP in an event like this, you are going to get run down. This comes from personal experience. In PB14, I had a team that was definitely more on the side of movement, and on paper, in a vacuum, the team is not bad at all. But in every single PvP game we played, it definitely felt like we were the worst team. Every other team just having slightly better teams than us, and no other team to just run down for 3 points, meant that they were instantly gravitated towards us. It was physically impossible for me to do anything meaningful as a leader in this game. And maybe that comes down to the fact that I'm not the best at leading PvP games, but a lot of it just came down to the fact that teams felt the need to just run us down, because we were weaker on paper. For this event, I wanted to make sure my team was strong enough at PvP on paper, so other teams would have second thoughts running into us. Whilst I don't think we're the best PvP team, we certainly aren't the worst, which means we don't instantly become food for the stronger teams because they don't have other options. The reality is that they do have other options. Another important thing I wanted to consider for an event like this is individual prowess. To get points in most of these games, especially the individual ones we discussed, you need to outplace other players. If you're not doing that, you're getting less points. Simple. And in a super high comp event like this, if you are not placing well, it's really gonna show. Point applies to 3 out of the 8 games, and that is a lot. That's nearly 50% of all of the games, all of the points being distributed across the entire event. And that's not even counting the 2 PvP games, where I mentioned that needing PvP presence to stand a fighting chance at holding positioning or securing kills and progressing is important. My team is mostly built up with these players, people that can just get a lot of individual points and don't really have to care about other teams. Our main weakness overall is the team games, but I'm okay with that currently. Here's why. For Trials of Fire especially, but you could also include the other team split games here, strategies can be produced and finalized before the event. We can spend hours looking into how these games work and understand what we need to do. It doesn't matter how long it takes, we have the entire week to decide on how we're going to approach these games and strategies. We don't need to come up with flimsy solutions to dance our way through the PvP games and the end of farm games. We can assume we're beating at least half the other teams in those. We just need to find solutions to games where the only thing that could distract us is ourselves. When every single team is ridiculously strong and your team is halted by mechanics, there's only so much you can do to practice for that game. For a team game, there's nothing really halting us from practicing, or there's nothing really halting us from developing a wacky or unique strategy. You don't have to worry about just being outgunned in several of the games, because the ones we're not particularly confident at, we're able to develop strategies. Okay, let's go over the players on my team. You could say I'm probably the 2nd or 3rd best movement player in this entire event. I'm good at getting individual points, I can win 1v1s or output high damage in team fights, and I have a good insight into understanding my flaws. I know what to look out for. CGQ, my first draft, is probably one of the most slept on players in this entire event. He also patches out one of the biggest weaknesses of this team, and has some of the most PB experience out of any top player. I think he also fits my chemistry pretty well, and I think we make a good duo. Next is Nair, a player who, in my opinion, has some of the highest peaks out of any event player I've ever seen. In Origins Brawl, me and Nair were first and second for most of the entire event. He only dropped to 5th because he had a really rough final game where he went 0-7 in Extraction. Kel set the point record in Block Wars Origins 33. Nair next event said, okay, I'll do better, so he proceeded to take the record for himself right after. Nair is the definition of high confidence, but also being able to actually capitalize on that, which is really important here. He has an aggressive playstyle, and it's kind of what we need to capitalize on with our team structure. I definitely tend to play a bit more safe when it comes to PvP, and that just comes from the fact that I lack confidence. I'm definitely not the most confident player when it comes to PvP, but if I have someone who is on my side, I can kind of be more confident just from their presence. Our final player, Morgan, is really accentuating my initial ideas for team building for this event. He's good at PB, like really good at PB. He has a lot of PvP game sense, and whilst he may be the weakest link, he has excellent chemistry with Nair, and he's willing to learn new things. Listen, the people aren't ready for the return of the king, that's all I'm saying. Together, this team combines confidence, experience, and mechanics all into one. Do I think we have the best team? Probably not, but I couldn't tell you what the best team was. Do we have a chance at winning? Yes, and that is the most important part here. Look, at the end of the day, I think this team is very solid. I don't think we have that many problems. I think the only issue is the previously mentioned team games, but like I said, I'm willing to go through that battle and try and learn how to play through these games well. No other teams are preventing any of the strategies that we may build for games in this event. The only obstacle is ourselves.